Thank you, Bob Beck, for that introduction, and welcome to Top End Talk with Nitro Alley. I am your host, Nitro Alley, and I am so excited to have Landspeed pilot with me today, Liz Leggett. Thank you, Liz, for joining us today.
Thank you for talking to me, Allie, and I'm just so excited to be on your show,
Well,
honestly.
I'm so excited ever since we met over at PRI, and you have quite the incredible story to tell. So I'm super excited for you to share that with everybody, especially coming from the land speed side. So let's just start it off. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, obviously, my name is Liz Leggett. So, I'm actually born and raised in the Montreal, Canada area. So, I'm from up north. I've been in the United States since 2017, though. So, like, the United States is my home as
Mm-hmm.
well as, Canada. But I love being in the US. And so I've been doing automotive photojournalism since I was a kid. I started when I was about like 10, 11 years old working with my
Wow.
dad. So like I always started off doing things when I was young, kind of learning and watching racing and doing different automotive events or press release car reviews and photojournalism that way. And then it built to working. I worked for the Montreal newspaper with him, and then freelance for different magazines. And so that was the path I really followed, was photojournalism. And so over the years, working for different magazines, I had opportunities to go to like Yokohama for the Moon Eye Show or the Grand National Roadster Show, or different car events or races, covering things all the way like F1 and NASCAR, and I've had such an honor to be involved in so many different aspects of racing over the years, but always having also mechanical work as my job. So I worked restoring cars when I moved to the U.S. I worked at Valhalla Automotive, which is in New Jersey. Then I ended up working at a place called Milspec, doing World War II tank restoration. We specifically did World War II armored vehicles, so tanks, half tracks, things like that. And so I've always been working with machines as well as photographing machines, and so I've always wanted to race, and yeah, I'm very fortunate.
Awesome. But your love of engines and speed started at a very young age. And I
Yeah.
think you remember talking about some steam engines that you
Yeah.
worked on. Go ahead and share a little bit about that. That's kind of out of the ordinary.
Yeah, and I think that's really where my insane love for machines comes from. Is that my whole family, since my great grandfathers, we're in a hobby called live steam, where you take it's a tool and diamond hobby or machinist hobby, where you build scaled down steam locomotives that burn coal and boil water, and it operates exactly like a full size steam locomotive, just scaled down. And so I was born. Um, my grandparents met because great grandpa had a daughter, great grandpa had a son, and their kids met through the hobby, and those were my grandparents. And then, of course, down the line, I'm now fourth generation live steamer. So I grew up running small trains as what we do. My house was full, literally shelves and of train books and actual steam locomotives and things like that. And I got my first steam locomotive when I think it was about 8 years old, 9 years old, nicknamed the Pickle Barrel. It's a 060 saddle tank engine. And so my first attempts at going fast were on my little steam engine during efficiency trials. I would, run really fast around the track, but not just for the goal of speed. I always wanted to run the engine to its peak ability and to learn, like, that machine, her and I, of course, I very equate machines to being like people and having emotions or feelings. But that engine and I, we got really good at getting in sync, and I got really good at knowing what she needed to go fast and efficient. And so that was where my love of running machines and working on them, and that started very, very young. So oil in my veins.
That's awesome. Now, you said a minute ago that you have worked on tanks. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that one a little bit? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, another very interesting thing I've gotten to do. So because I did the live steam hobby, that also trickles to the point where there's places that needed help and whatnot for excursion railways. So we worked helping out at the main narrow gauge railway. So that's full size, 2 foot gauge. Then I helped out at Clark's Trading Post, which is full size logging engines. So I had experience working on large machinery. Tie that in with, then I also did the restoration on cars. So I was very used to working with big, large, heavy machines. I'm used to restoring things, and I got the opportunity to have that job when I was living in New Jersey, to work at this private shop working restoring tanks, and that was a very amazing job. I did it for about 2.5 years, and it was just a great job. And I'm still friends. I was just at the shop the other day. They finished up the M36 Jackson tank destroyer that I helped work on, and so I got to go in and check out how things were looking. And so it's a really amazing job that gave me a lot of insight into a lot of things. But yeah, so I spent about, I think it was 5.5 years total, and a lot or more now, for the last few years, learning restoration and doing body work and welding and some machining. I'm not a machinist by no means. I know my way a little bit around a lathe and a mill and things like that, and still practicing TIG welding, but MIG welding and doing all pretty much any aspect of restoration. I was a painter's assistant for Munch Gonzalez, who does like lowrider style paint. I apprenticed him at Valhalla, so be it lowrider paint or working on tanks or working on steam engines or restoring classic cars or pretty much anything. I'm very much I'm an equal opportunity machine lover. I go for everything
I
mechanical.
love that. I love that. So you're very hands-on mechanically with the
Yeah.
machines, but also, like you said, you've been a photojournalist for,
Yeah.
over 20 years. So I gotta imagine that your exposure to many different types of vehicles, especially, has really kind of developed your knowledge of, racing in general and different types of cars, or, any other type of engine. How is that, being a photojournalist help you develop your knowledge?
Oh, it's exponentially. The thing is, every time I've ever gotten to do an article on either, like if I worked when I was working for Revolution Motorcycle Magazine and meeting bike builders who are guys who are just passionate building something small out of their shop by their house, or going to massive shops or meeting really famous racers and all the crews that I've gotten to meet. It's been an amazing journey of people and getting to meet so many amazing individuals that my mind is boggled by the amount of people I have to thank for giving me their time and just talking to me and showing me their shop or introducing me to their families and showing me what their hopes and dreams are through the photography. And my photography is the biggest part of my life, of course, because I've been doing it for so long, and I have this amazing archive, and I've been putting together books. And I think when we talk about like big dreams and stuff, I really do in the future. One big goal that I want to have is another art show, because I did have an art show in Montreal, but I'd love to print some of these images of these people and their shops and their amazing creations and these amazing experiences. I want to blow them up and share them with the world, because I'm fortunate to get to meet these people. And the only reason the photographs are cool or interesting is because these people are cool and interesting. And I try to document and highlight the things that I notice that are going on in the world that are interesting to me and are important to me. And as you said, there's so many different types of racing I've gotten to try out or be around, and they have so many commonalities and things we all agree on. And it's the car automotive world, and then the other people in my book. Like, we're all in the same trunk.
Right. And I know, just even in our conversations that we've had, my
Yeah.
mind is blown at the knowledge that you have, and everyone knows I put out my quirky little did you know videos, and I've told everybody I get that information from crew chiefs, from people at the NHRA, or whatever it is, and basically just put my spin on it and reiterate it. Whereas you literally know all of this stuff inside and out. And I look at you going, I need to talk to her to get some information on my did you know stuff, just because you are essentially, to me, I look at you like a walking encyclopedia with of information.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because that's, you aspire to, every time you meet someone who's got this knowledge, you aspire to absorb it as much as possible and do, every time somebody takes the time to teach you something, you try to do it justice by remembering all of it that you can. And A lot of people know that I'm full of a lot of oddball bits of knowledge and a lot of very odd things, but those are what fascinate me. And I'm you're a collection of your experiences and the people that you encounter. And I've had a very colorful life meeting amazing characters and brilliant people and quirky folks, and I try to very much absorb every bit that I can from everyone, because everybody's opinion is valid, everybody's viewpoint is interesting, and I'm fascinated by the world and by people, and I think that my view of the world, or my appreciation of the world, is very much expressed through my photography, and I'm very lucky that people love my photographs, but it's only because I'm showing them what I love about them. I'm just trying to reflect, like, this is like, wow, that's great. I've never seen a picture of me like that before. And I go, well, I didn't make this. This is how you are. This is the thing that you built. Like, oh, I've owned this car for how many ever years, and I never looked at it that way. And it's like, well, other people look at the things you do and appreciate things you've done or have created in ways you don't even see. And I think that's a magical thing, is appreciating, or taking the time to smell the roses, or appreciate the bit of craftsmanship, or yeah, I try to show that through my work, and I love all of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Huh.
Now I want to talk about racing for a minute, and we'll get to land speed in a second, but you
Yeah.
have raced a lot of different cars. Would you
Yeah.
mind sharing kind of your racing background?
Yes, I would love to. I have been so lucky. That's probably the thing I say the most, and people will get tired of me saying how lucky and fortunate and thankful I am, but truly those are the only words I can think of. But I started my racing journey only in May 2023. So it's not been that long at all.
Uh-huh.
But I have a little bit of a list that I kind of amassed. So I started with the Landspeed racing. Was the first thing I did, believe it or not, was racing the dinosaur. So I got the opportunity many years ago, and things kept breaking, or rain, or things would happen, and I went out with them several years in a row, either the Arkansas or Bonneville, and never got to race. And then finally, in May, I got to make my first run in the dinosaur, which is monumentous, but it was my first time racing anything. Anything officially. So that was my start. I started in Landspeed, which was bonkers, and I had the pleasure of setting 3 records that first trip. So that was, you go out to do something, but then you achieve it to that level, and it's just like, and so they're small records. They're like, I'm not setting huge times or anything yet. Like, I'm not reaching for the stars just yet. I'm slowly enjoying the process. So I did that, and then I came back, and so then I did some drag racing. I help out with the Pure Hell Fuel Altered team, so Rich Guasco's Pure Hell. I had the honor of helping restore the funny car last year, and then I got to go to the March meet, and I got to be part of the crew. I'm not a big part of the crew. I'm not doing clutches or anything. I'm just I'm baby powdering the gasket in the oil pan and wiping it out. But I got to be on the crew, which was amazing, because I'm starting out being on the front line. That's just such a historical team. So I got to do that for the March meet. Right around my birthday, which was cool. Then I went and did some nostalgia drag racing with the Vintage Eliminators. So we'd take like roadsters and 4-bangers, and we go out and thrash them and have a great time doing drag racing and circle track. So we did the championship at South Mountain Dragway, and so I drive this little Model A, and so I go to make my first pass, and the guys decided to triple. I've driven the car before. Usually leaving first, it makes a little chirp and it goes. But the guys, haha, we prepped the track 3 times this time because we wanted to be really sticky. So I went and stripped first gear straight out right off the bat. Oh. So I'm like, okay, the championship's about to start. So I went and I pulled out all the pieces of first gear with a magnet, drained the oil, put new oil back, or the oil back in after I strained it out, new oil. And then I went all the way out of 26 cars. I went to the semifinals only with second gear.
Oh, that's fabulous.
It was super fun. So that was yet again at the beginning, and they handed me a plastic trophy that I cherished so much, but they handed me a little bit of money, and I was like, wait, what's this? And they said, well, you won some money for runner up. I went, it's official. I'm officially a race car driver. I got paid to race it. Like, this is crazy. I'd never experienced that. So there was the drag racing. Then right after that, did dirt track racing at Big Diamond, Baps, Lincoln, and Lattimore Valley. So I did circle track with the Roadsters on dirt, which is so fun. So I love dirt track racing now. It's really fun. Then went to several different car shows, like the Church of the Open Door show, which is an amazing show. We go with the Iron Dinosaur sometimes. So then we also went to the Hershey Milton School, let people sit in some of the Kowalski custom cars. So I help out with Kowalski Customs EJ, and so I get to work on cars with him and go racing and stuff. So I went with him and his mother to that show. Then we did the Cars for Kids event at Jennerstown, which is another great event. If you guys can get to it, it's amazing. Then we did vintage drag racing at Allentown, Pennsylvania. So I was racing the number 11, the little roadster, and then I had a bad motorcycle accident about 5 years ago. So it was my third ride ever, and it was a bad situation. I ended up going 50 miles an hour into a guardrail. So
Oh no.
I was a new rider, and I wasn't experienced enough to be where I was. But it's in the past. I know the situation leading up to that was kind of a little hairy. So once that happened, I stopped riding bikes, right? And so I hadn't raced any or ridden a motorcycle in like several years, and I had this mini bike that I would putz around with. And then someone handed me like a 250 Yamaha, and so I did a couple of drag races in the dirt, and I think I won 4 out of my 5 drag races. And it's like, I haven't been back on a bike in so long, and it was that. So I did race a motorcycle drag race on dirt, but I'm not. Someone offered me a bigger bike. I said, not yet. I'm very patient with learning things and knowing that I'm in too deep, So I did that and raced the car as well. Then we had the honor of going to Indianapolis with the Ragtime Racers. And I got to drive on the Indianapolis Raceway in a 1916 Hudson, which you have to double clutch, but all dressed in, a leather helmet, no seat belts. You're out in an actual, race car on the Indy track, which was mind-boggling. And then it was 2 weeks later, I got to go to IRP with the Indy Legends group, and they're amazing. So Indy Legends put on an event. We went with the Ragtime Racers, and we raced at IRP. Sorry, there's so many things. I'm so fortunate. Then more vintage eliminator drag racing at Mason-Dixon Dragway, which is also a really great dragway. And then I did a few other kind of races, more Nitro. We went to Nitro Revival with the Pure Hell and got to put the car that I helped restore in the Lions Museum. So the Pure Hell Funny car that I got to touch and work on is in the Lions Museum. So I had like interviews with Athena After Dark. I've had an interview with you now. I did an interview with the Indie Legends, and it's like every time I get asked about all these things I do, I feel like, oh my gosh, this is an insurmountable list, and this is just the last 9 months.
And just think how big that list is going to grow in the coming years.
I can't thank each. That's why I'm trying to name all these events and places I've been and try to show them how thankful I am for their invites, for any of their time, if they share any photos. It just somebody liking a photo when you post it makes it all worth it. Comments, positivity, just showing that anybody is I'm not going out to beat on a drum to inspire people, or I'm just doing the things I love, and I'm very very thankful and very enthusiastic.
You can tell that you're very passionate about racing and everything that you do. I mean, it comes out just in everything you say, your mannerisms, just even the smile on your face like you have right now.
Yeah.
You can tell you genuinely love racing. So let's move forward a little bit. Let's talk about the Iron Dinosaur. What is it?
The Iron Dinosaur. It's a dream boat. So she's a blown fuel Lakester. She's got a 302 dart block engine, so it's an LS style dart block. We use Icon Forged pistons, which are amazing. They're a great sponsor of ours. We have a 5-speed long gate transmission, center force clutch. We have a Winner's quick change rear end, so we're able to change out the gearing, which came really in handy when we had transmission problems at Bonneville. We ended up losing one of the levers off the side of the transmission. There was a bit of a problem with that. It kind of broke off, and so we tried to weld it, didn't work, and then we went, wait, just switch up the gearing in the rear end. So Don ended up making his run at like 234 in like third gear. So that got a little squirrely, but like it's an amazing car because you can change out the gears, and it's cooled by ice. So you've got like the turbo side and then the engine side, and you pack it full of ice. So everybody's like, "What are you guys making margaritas?" Pack it full of ice. We got twin turbos by Precision Turbo. They're 76-inch turbos, or 76 millimeter turbo. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we got about 40 pounds of boost, 2,000 horsepower. She's got 2 parachutes. There's different lengths depending whether we're running at Arkansas or Bonneville, because there's either the X style or the ribbon style, and I fold both. That's my job. What I love to do it is folding parachutes, and especially if you're driving a vehicle, it's kind of like one of those things. You're responsible for your own shoot, but also it kind of zens me out and puts me in that mode where I'm like, all right, I've got a job to do. Because I think that's one of the things that freaks people out, is I'm all bubbly and crazy like this, but when I go and I sit in the car, the first few times everybody kept going, "Are you okay?" Because I get so quiet and I get so serious, and it's because I've waited so long. When you wait your entire existence for an opportunity, you're not gonna, this is serious stuff. It's all fun and bubbly, and I dress very colorfully and all these different things just because it makes me happy. But when it comes down to it, racing is very serious. I've had friends, either pass or be seriously injured, and you got to I concentrate on the good stuff, and we concentrate on being happy and joyful, but safe, very safe. And the whole team has always been so wonderful, making me feel safe and that everything's going to go well. And they are very attentive. They never push me. They're always like, it's always about how I feel. And I've never felt so safe and supported. So if it wasn't with that team, I don't know, would I be where I am? Probably not, but it's because Don Gilmore gave me that opportunity. So it's incredible.
So let's go back then. How did you get that opportunity? When did you first get involved with the Iron Dinosaur?
I think I first got involved, I think it might have been 2019. So we were friends with I got to be the team photographer with my dad for the Carbonite team. And so Rob Freivogel and Don Gilmore were our friends. And so he said, "Oh, who's those photographers? Can I hire them?" So he hired us to take photos. So taking photos of the car, and it's just so cool. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, obviously you love this, why don't you race?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a car." And he looked at the car, he looked at me, and he looked at the car, and he went, "Well, why don't you race this?" And that was the one thing I had dreamed. I couldn't believe it, because you never assume that somebody's going to let you drive something like that, and with no experience. And it was literally a dream come true. And you hope and you wish and you dream that maybe someday someone will notice that you are as passionate as you are, and that you are as dedicated and serious as you are about it. And finally one day somebody took a chance on me, and then other people also started seeing how serious I was and giving me more opportunities. And EJ's let me drive his cars, Rich Fenza, Mike from South Mountain, he lets me drive his car. So I've had a few opportunities to drive other people's car, and I always try to treat them with the utmost respect. But Don giving me that opportunity to drive a blown fuel Lakester at Bonneville, it's an insurmountable dream. It's beyond my wildest dreams. And so when people say, "Oh, what do you want to do next?" My wildest dreams are already crazier than what I've been lucky to accomplish. So I'm not gonna limit it. Make no plans, and it always goes to plan, right? It's
Right.
just I have things I want to accomplish or do, but very much I'm open to every opportunity and
All right. So take
experience.
us back to that very first time that you were getting in the car. You're getting, strapped in. What were you doing? What's the process? What were you feeling at that time?
Yeah, man, I'm very lucky to have met Allison Swank. She filmed a little film of the rookie run at Bonneville, and it's actually a short film that's coming out next week. We've been waiting for that documents the whole kind of beginning part. But looking back on that film, which comes out next week, I can't believe it. I'm just so excited to share it with my friends. Um, Looking back on it, it was almost like you've imagined something in your mind so many times, and you've envisioned it, and you've hoped for it so many times that you get almost like stoicness about yourself, where you're just so concentrated on absorbing every second and appreciating it. And everyone was like, oh, your first run, it's you have to go slow. So they say it won't be, you're not going 200 miles an hour off the bat, not at all. You have to really incrementally work up. And I'm only up to a B. Was doing my B license run when the car broke, but that first run, you go and you finally. I had gotten to race at Arkansas. I had driven the car about 6 times by the time I got to Bonneville, 6 or 7 times. But sitting on that starting line and being strapped in that morning was because I got to be the first one to leave in the morning. So the car was sitting on the starting line, and we pulled up, and I got a little video of pulling up to the car, and we're right beside Bombshell Betty, which is a very special car. She's the Buick. She was behind us, and pulling up to that car, it was the sun coming up. It was yet again better than I had imagined it, but it was like you finally feel like almost a sigh of relief that it's like I've dreamed of this so many times and gotten this close so many times and woken up to rain, and that it was just like it's happening. And when I got to the end, I literally was so excited, and I just jumped up, and the SCTA is fantastic. The first time you stop, you have a guy show up right away. So I didn't have like 5 minutes to cry or be emotional. They're there, make sure you are okay, make sure everything's safe. And so the guy comes up, and I'm like kind of freaking out, trying to seem calm. But then when the team showed up, I lost it. I completely lost. I was jumping up and down, screaming. They said I looked like a monkey jumping from tree to tree. They said something like that. I was just jumping all over the place, and complete elation, truly. Yeah.
That's really cool. And then also, what a lot of people don't know about Landspeed is it starts off slow. You're not just going right like a rocket right off the bat. Can you explain to everybody what exactly that process is in order for you to get up to those high speeds?
Absolutely. So there's what's called like the rookie process. So what you've got to do is you start off with like a D license, and then you've got to go between a set amount of speed. So for the last run, for example, that I was doing, I needed to go between 175 and 199 miles an hour, and I needed to prove that I can go through a certain trap at a certain speed. And so they do that at different tracks. So like ECTA, Bonneville, Texas Mile, Loring, all these land speed tracks. You start with a lower license, do a run, then you get licensed up, and then you do a run and get licensed up. So when you're trying to get up to an A license or higher, when you're trying to go, Danny Thompson speeds, where you're trying to push around 400 or something like that, you've already got a lot of time under your belt. And so they're very cognizant of the fact that you need to learn what you're doing. You can't fly before you jump. You really need to take it easy. And that's one of the things I really appreciate about Landspeed is when they say the track is yours, go. It's not a drag race. Take your time, breathe, leave when you feel you're ready. The push truck, which we have a push truck, some vehicles leave with one, some don't need it. We need it because of the tall gearing that we need for the top end. Our push truck needs to push me up to 45 miles an hour and needs to pull off. I need to leave once it hits 45. I pull my foot off the clutch and I get on the gas. And then the push truck, I leave the push truck before the mile. So you need to have that push. You need to get up to 45 before that mile. So you need to get pushed. Then once you leave, you've got to get up to you hammer it down. You've got to get through the gears. And so the type of shifter I have is called like a dog box style. So you start with your foot on the clutch and you're in first. So when you let your foot off the clutch and you put on the gas, you're in first. Then you do a straight pull back, straight push forward, straight pull back. So you're not having to put your foot on the clutch after that, unless you have a problem up at the top end and need to downshift to get off the track, which I can do and have done. But ultimately, you've got to get pushed up to 45, and it's all incremental. You've got to earn it. You got to earn it, and I'm so okay with that. And I don't want to jump any bit of the process. I want to learn every single thing, not just because it's important to do for safety, but because I love this so much that some things that might annoy people because, it's taking more time. I'm just so excited to be here and be a part of it, that let it take as long as it can. I don't mind. If I need to wait till tomorrow to run because things are all bunched up, it's okay. Things will happen in their due time, just like getting to race. It happened. I didn't want to push for it. It happened when it needed to.
Well, that's really neat. And then you said that you at 45 miles an hour, that's kind of when you do the push off.
Yeah.
Now, how long, just because I don't know, and I know there's a lot of people out there that don't know, how long does it take you to get to your top speed, if you will, where they're actually measuring that? And how long is the track itself?
So the long track at Bonneville, I think, depends on the year, but I think last year was the 9-mile track. So they'll usually have a shorter track for people to do rookies or for the slower cars. No offense to them, but slow. Speed is relative to what you're sitting in. If you're pushing a flathead past 100 and whatever, that if you're even going over 150, good, like go. That's amazing. So there's the 2 tracks. Some years there was more. You get about 9 miles. I think the run's about 2 minutes long.
Okay.
So you're doing like drag race speeds, trying to go up to like the record in our class currently is 3:44. We're not there yet, but you need to do that quickly. And the run lasts about 2 minutes, depending on where you pull off. We have a 14-gallon tank that pumps 7 gallons a minute. So we've got about 2 minutes of fuel in that vehicle at full bore. So yeah,
That's
it's about
crazy.
a 2 minute. Yeah. So sometimes, the drive up to get the car is the longest part, and the way I'm excited for that wait where I go up far enough where they come, they check on me, and they drive off, and then I get to be just me in the car and just really absorb that moment, because I've gotten that excitement of cheering with everybody, but that serious moment of like just that stillness of being at the top end by yourself after a run with the car, which I've photographed many times, going with the team to go pick up, and I've photographed so many friends enjoying that moment that I've always been like, oh man, that moment at the top end by yourself with the car. That's one thing I'm looking forward to.
Very special, where you're kind of bonding and building that relationship with the car.
Yeah. It's an amazing car. I love that car. I really do. It's amazing how you can build a relationship with an inanimate object, but at the same time, if something was created by people, like a vehicle or a building, if there was many people putting their hands into a project and their time into a project, they're imparting that moment and that feeling and that essence into an object. So it ends up, if you have a car that comes off a conveyor belt made by machines, why does it feel a little bit soulless? Well, because people didn't put their soul into it. And so many people have gotten to sit in this car or be a part of this project, or just we try to keep the pits open to anybody who wants to come and visit. And we always tell people, come and visit. And I can't wait till you come and visit either Arkansas or we're going to Loring. But you come anytime and come and hang out and sit in the car. And that's my favorite part is getting to share that car and that thing. That's the most important thing for me.
Well, let me ask you this, though. It might not be, a huge question, but, these things don't have suspension in them, correct?
Correct. You got like a mild suspension, but not really, because by the time it's tough with the how to explain, but like by the time the shock system is reacting to the bump, you're already past the bump. So we've got these large they're like rubber pucks,
Okay.
and so you've got like a bit of give, but when you're being towed back, and I've got to sit in the back, I took a video of it. It's like getting
That's
pounded
what I
a
was going to
little
ask you.
bit.
What is riding in one of those if it really doesn't have a suspension? What is
Yeah.
riding in that like? That's got to be, yeah, like you said, kind of bouncing all over the place, I'd think.
So when I did my runs, I was lucky that the track was in really pretty good condition. I feel like it was not that bad because they equate it to like driving on slush or salt. It's not a solid surface. But when you're getting towed back at a slower speed, you're feeling every wing ding in the track, every bump and pothole. You've got fillings in the back, or it's a little rough. But when you're driving the car, you don't really feel it because you're going so quickly. You're kind of almost gliding over the bumps. You do feel it a little bit, but you're almost not cognizant of it because you're so concentrated on the rest of your tasks. Because it's really like you're sitting there, you're not trying to drive the vehicle, you're trying to actually just be a part of the system that this thing was created to go fast. I'm just that piece of the puzzle to complete that task, and I'm trying to do that to the best of my ability. If I'm trying to drive the car and direct it and tell it where to go, and you've got to lightly guide it, you've got to feel where the track wants to go, and you've got to kind of. So I'm learning how to do that, but I definitely feel you've got to kind of be a part of the car and
Kind of go with it a little
go
bit.
with the flow a little bit
Yeah.
for sure. It's not too rough. It's not too rough. Being towed back though, yeah, that could be a
Feel
little
it a
fun.
little bit. Now,
Yeah,
with any race car, or any sport for that matter, you need training, you need guidance. Has
yeah,
somebody really kind of, been an influence in your life that's really mentored you when it comes to racing?
yeah. It's funny. One of them, there's been quite a few people. So I mentioned them. I'm friends with Danny Thompson. I've known him for quite a few years, and when I started racing, I talked with him for a little bit about it. But really, one of the guys that I talked or raced a bunch of go karting with, for example, was Jim at Millspec, where I worked doing the World War II stuff. So he has done a lot of racing, and so we would go kart racing, and I would learn from him, and then I would go, drag racing or circle track racing with EJ Kowalski, and EJ is one of the most knowledgeable car people. If you think I'm an encyclopedia, oh no, that man is an encyclopedia of all that knowledge, and I definitely you should talk to him too sometime because the stuff he's accomplished is really cool. But I try to learn from him, and then from the team we have Don Martin and Don Gilmore. The two of them, they've experienced a lot of land speed racing and racing in general. And Don Martin straps me in and drives the push truck a lot of the time. And he's an incredible character. And I say character just because he's bigger than a person in my life. I think he's an amazing person. But Don's given me a ton of advice. Of course, I'm best friends with my dad. But my dad, back in the day, he did like rally with my mom, and he did some racing. But he's not a race car driver, and I don't come from a racing family. I'm not related to Brandon or Les Leggett like many people believe. I'm just the oddball family member who was like, I want to go racing. But I try to learn from everyone. I've spent time, Jason Marsh. I've spent time talking to Eddie Marlin for many, many hours about racing. Rob Freivogel. It literally is, insurmountable. Um, David Pilgrim. There's a lot of people. Like literally every person that I've spent time with. Aaron Brown.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, another person, wealth of information and knowledge, but is very caring and shares it with people. And yeah, I try to pick up every person that I've met that is in racing. I try to talk to them and figure out what can I apply. But I do that with everybody. I'll meet somebody at the gas station. I talk the ear off the telephone pole, but I'll meet someone at a gas station and learn an amazing thing that will change how I look at the world. But racing, there's how many amazing racers, it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about your crew a little bit, and we all know that the crew, your teammates, they really are essentially the backbone to
Mm-hmm.
any racing operation. And a lot of times, in my opinion, they aren't getting the love that they deserve. So I want to give you the opportunity to kind of shine the light on them and really kind of highlight who they are. If you don't mind, give us their names.
Yeah,
What do they do, and how have they supported you through your career?
absolutely. And that's what I've tried to tell people is that I did not build the car. I do not. The team is the reason I've gotten to do anything. So of course we start off with Don Gilmore, who's the owner and driver of the Iron Dinosaur, and um, I can never say thank you enough because words can't explain. We have James Burgess, who's my crew chief or our crew chief. He's really he built a lot of the car with his father, Jim Burgess, and James is so good at keeping everyone calm and everyone centered. And I know he's like, he's got other things to do other than be crew chief, but he's an incredible crew chief. He's like a brother to me, and I listen to him, Don Martin, and Don Gilmore. We have Blake Fondren, who is our tuner. Avid Speed. I say what he does is mathemagical because I don't understand it, but I sit down after every run and try to go through the data with him and learn what he needs from me and what the car's doing and looking at everything like the wastegates opening and closing and trying to learn the idiosyncrasies of something that is so much bigger than my little squirrel brain can handle some days. But I really want to learn that stuff. So Blake is help build that car up to what it is today. Then we also have I mentioned James Burgess. His wife Jillian also comes along, and she kept me alive. Honestly, her and BJ Burgess. So the Burgess family is big part of this. So BJ, James's sister and Jim's daughter, she does like most of our like logistical stuff. She helps make sure that we actually get everything where it needs to go. Jillian keeps me alive. She made sure I had water. She had the umbrella. She's just like making sure everyone was doing so good, and that was awesome. We have Janet, which is Don's wife. She comes along and she puts up with our shenanigans. She's an amazing woman, and anytime I have a moment where I do need to like either center myself or just talk to like the voice of reason. I try to find Janet because she's the voice of reason in my mind in that team. My dad, who does the photography and video and all that stuff. We also have, of course, the people who originally worked on the car when it was a belly tank and did work on it when it changed from a belly tank into a Lakester, which is another amazing part of the story. That car started off as one thing and changed into another. And so there's Chuck Gray, Arnie Peace, who's actually a dentist who did the body work. The body work's done by a dentist. He had never
That's
done
so
body
cool.
work. He had never done body work. And then he did that, which is all out of aluminum, like thick aluminum. It's incredible. So I don't know. I might go and see if he can make me a set of grills or something because that part's pretty cool. Bill Sheaver, Dan Foreman, John Freena. John Freena's great. If you come into our pit, John will tell you everything about the car. He'll walk you around. He's just such a welcoming guy, and he's just such a wonderful team member. Paul Stepek, Brian Moran. We've got so many people too. There's Scott. There's the Swank family. That's Allison, who we met last year, and her whole family. She came on vacation with her family and decided to kind of take some videos, and now has put together an actual film on the whole experience. And her family, they're part of the team now. They're coming to Arkansas. Like her and her parents are just they're amazing, and her sister Teresa. They're all so sweet, and so we really have so many people joining and being a part of the crew and helping out, and then part of Don's family members come out, and it's a huge list of people. And I know I'm probably forgetting a couple names, but that's just because I can't thank everybody enough, and everybody who comes by even to visit, like Les Holm, for example. He'll just come by the pit and hang out with us for a couple minutes, or we'll be there on the starting line, or Wendell at the starting line, all the starters, and oh my God, everybody's important, like, to me, and I'm just so thankful to every single person I've gotten to interact with.
I
So
love that. I mean, you can tell that you are absolutely grateful for everybody, and appreciate every opportunity, every insight, every piece of knowledge and their time that they give you. I mean, you can just tell that every
Yeah.
single one of those people truly means the world to you. And you kind of blow me away in the sense that, you started, with the steam engines, then you go into, you work on tanks, and then you race vintage cars. Now you're racing, land speed. I don't think you even realize how diverse and dynamic you really are. You're like this unicorn in the racing world. Where did you come from?
I know a lot of people ask me that, and then there's others that, like, I used to do competitive marksmanship. Like, I used to compete in free gun and stuff like that, and I haven't done that in many years, so I don't even mention it to people. But I got to go to nationals for three gun and so I used to do that a little bit. But there's a lot of things when I'm talking. It's only when I'm talking to someone like as nice as you and who's actually asking me these questions, and I go, oh my gosh, there's a lot. And then there's a lot of very odd things, but I think I'm just, I've got this unquenchable thirst for knowledge and for appreciation for everything, be it art or music or racing or there's just so many amazing things about this world that I appreciate and completely revel in and try. That's why I do the photography. It's almost like I got to get it out of my head and I've got to capture it and save every little moment and keep it as special. And it's like every giving the credit to the team. You try to give credit where credit's due, and the whole credit is to the team and to the people that have made that opportunity possible for me, because it's not just me saying, like, I don't know everything, I'm not capable of everything. I'm wanting to learn everything, and I'm open to trying to learn everything. And I do appreciate everybody's time and patience and voice. And I just try to show everybody that when they take the time to talk to me, I really appreciate it. And I'm the worst with messages and phones and not getting back to people, but that's truly because when I'm with somebody, I try not to be on my phone.
Right.
And I had a friend go, you never answer my messages. And I said, well, Richie, I'm never on the phone when I'm with you, am I? He said, no, you're not. I said, that's because you're important. And I don't want, but I feel badly that other people are now not getting answered. But I try to be so present in the moment, because it's so easy to get lost in social media and TikTok and YouTube. And I'm trying to keep posts. I have a YouTube channel. Everyone goes, why don't you have one? It's like, it's a lot to do. But then while you're filming, you're not enjoying it. I can't race and film. I try
Right.
to cover myself and cover the things that I'm doing, and I'll be doing something incredible, and I go, oh, I forgot to take a selfie. But it's like I'm so in the moment doing the things I do that I try to share as much as possible. But that's why I invite everybody to come out and hang out at these events and come to car shows and be with us and enjoy it, because the world out here in the real world, like not online, is so exciting. And there's so many events that are going on, even though there are places closing, like Irwindale closed. I cried a little bit. I know it's stupid, it's not my local track, it's not somewhere I raced, but driving away from Nitro Revival that last time, I filmed over our shoulder as we drove away, looking at those grandstands, and it's just like heart-wrenching that a lot of the stuff we love in the automotive world is, I wouldn't say under attack, but it is a point of contention for some people. And there are, manufacturers disappearing, insurances that are hard to get, tracks that are closing. It's an interesting time for racing. I just personally try to enjoy every second and bring attention to my friends who are putting on events like the Indie Legends event that's going on at IRP, or the Ragtime Racers, or backseat drivers that out of New Jersey that do rear engine dragster or front engine dragster events. And I just try to show this stuff, not to say like, oh, look where I am, I'm having some more fun than you. It's to go, look what's out here. Like, come and hang out. Come and see. Look how much fun you can be having. Like, come out with us. Don't stay at home. Don't be sad that stuff's disappearing, because if you show up to the stuff that's happening, it won't disappear.
Exactly. I mean, and that's a huge thing that I've been trying, a huge point that I've been trying to drive home lately, just, in a lot of the interviews and different people that I talk to, just even on social media. But you bring up an interesting point too, that, do you, as far as racing being attacked. Now, I know
Yeah,
sometimes tracks are closing simply because there's deals that they can't,
can't.
walk away from. Any normal human being and be like, I'm sorry, it's just too much money to walk away from. But it's still really sad because we're losing these safe, again, safe and controlled environments, which is why the NHRA was developed, to provide, safe places for people to race. But how do you feel that the racing industry is under attack from other sources?
I think that racing is in itself, it's a show. It's made to attract attention, and I think a lot of people see racing, they go, oh, that's like got to be really bad for the environment, or like that's, look at all that fuel they're using. One cruise, if you canceled one whole cruise line, it doesn't even come close to what the footprint of racing does. So I think that might be one of the reasons why a lot of people kind of, in that sense, maybe I'm not too sure why it's happening necessarily. I think a lot of the people that were raised appreciating the automobile as a, not only as a possession, but as a place and a way to get to places, to doing things with their friends. And it's a hobby. It's something you spend time with your friends in the shop, and all those people that value that kind of hobby or that kind of interest. I don't feel that that's been. I feel like that's a little bit changing. You have a lot of people who I personally I'm not against it, but I've never tried a VR headset and stuff like that, or the. I think we're getting very lost in the digital world and not realize like it's hard to take a car out for the weekend. You gotta, if it's, especially if it's cold out right now, like going to an event, you've got to go out, you got to push it out or drive it out, strap it onto your trailer. You got to go, leave in the morning. There's all these things that you've got to be not dedicated, but you've got to want to do it. And I don't know if there's just less people who want to do it or less people that they know they can do it. Like, I think some people don't realize you can build a car in your garage or build a race car and go out for less than, $100,000. You can build a
Right.
little roadster and go. And that's why I try to concentrate and show all these events where I love big racing. Do I ever think I'm going to be an NHRA star? That's not something I'm saying it's going to happen. But I look at the dollar signs associated with it, and I know I can't pay for that. Like
Yeah.
that's a huge. You're dealing with multiple millions of dollars. Well, your guy on your block who wants to build a cool little hot rod job, little gal job to drive around in the summer, maybe he doesn't realize he can do that. And people like EJ who are, or at Valhalla, AJ. It's funny, my boss was AJ, and now I work with EJ.
Yeah.
But they're restoring classic cars. They're getting these vehicles on the road. They're trying to show, like, I personally daily drive a '67 Buick Riviera. That's my old car. My new car is a '68 Torino that has still got work to be done on it, and I want to build a dragster and a roadster and all these things I want to build. But that's really the thing, I think, is people just need to see that it's fun to get dirty. It's
Yeah.
fun to go racing with your friends and then go out for dinner afterwards and laugh about the day. And I think it just needs to be shown more, maybe in a different context, that you too can come out and have a good time. Like, come enjoy it. And,
Yeah,
there's a
there's so
lot
many
of.
different classes of racing too. We're basically, and this is one thing that I'm a huge advocate for that, again, I don't think gets enough press, is NHRA for kids. They have their
Yeah.
junior street program, which you can just bring out mom's minivan and a helmet and you can race that thing.
Mm-hmm.
It might be
Exactly.
15, 16 seconds, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's still, you're racing and it's a way to get involved in it and kind of develop the love of the sport. And again, it's supporting the tracks and it's supporting the industry, you know.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then, you mentioned, well, I may not be some top, I might
You
not
never
get,
know.
if is there a class that you'd like to try, or maybe something that you would really kind of like to get your feet wet in?
I'm seriously open to absolutely anything. When you jump into something at such a deep end like Landspeed, like everything else is it was like, I can't believe I get to do this. Now that I got to do that, I'm like, well, now I feel like I'm capable enough. I believe in myself that I can accomplish what I need to do. And not an emergency, but when things go sideways, like when I was driving a drag race car a little while ago and the throttle stuck open, I went through the process of what needed to happen, and I stopped safely. And I keep going and getting more experience. So somebody mentioned getting to drive a midget, and I'm like, I would absolutely love to. So somebody then recently said, well, would you do some road racing up in Canada? Absolutely. Every single opportunity. Life's about saying yes and enjoying things. And if you're not good at something, that's okay. I wasn't able to swim, right off the bat really well until I practiced and went swimming, or you can't. So I'm willing to try anything, really. I really am. I'm just excited and enthusiastic about everything, but I'm also very cognizant of the fact that you need to learn and take it easy. So I need to do it slowly, take lessons, or be shown how to do something. But I'm very much wanting to do everything. I
Oh, and
want
that's
to do
funny because
everything.
yeah, a lot of people think, oh, I can do that and just jump headfirst into something. You do. You have to go through those
Yeah.
progressive levels of racing, so you can learn how to operate the vehicle, drive it safely, control it. There's a lot more. It's more than just holding the steering wheel and
Yeah.
punching the gas. There's a lot of moving parts inside there that you got to time just right, and it
Mhm.
takes practice. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of practice, and I'm sure that, I mean, with all the forms of racing that you've been exposed to in your life, that there's probably a racer or two that you look up to and admire. Is there someone that, if you given the choice of anybody that you could meet today and kind of pick their brain, who would it be?
I've been thinking about that. That's a really tough question. I got close to meeting Don Garlitz not long ago. I was at at Bruce Larson's event, and then at the Simeone, and he was there. I didn't get to talk to him, so it would be cool to talk to him. I've always wanted to talk to Mr. Iskandarian as well. I have not gotten to meet him, and
He's sweet. He is
I
the
really want to meet
sweetest.
him. He's cool. He seems like a really cool guy. I'm friends with Gene, Gene Winfield, and I got to spend time with Mr. Bill Hines, which I got to spend, I think it was 2 days with him and watch him lead cars and film that. But one of my earlier memories from when I was doing photojournalism as a kid was I was at Mont Tremblant, and I got to sit in, I think it was a 1972 Monaco winning car of Sir Jackie Stewart, the Flying Scotsman. And so I always thought he would be very interesting to meet too. I would love to meet someone like, Mickey Thompson or Mr. Campbell. Uh, but yeah, I think there's a huge list. Mr. Garlitz,
Huge list.
I would like to chat with Mr. Garlitz some more. I got so close and just didn't get the chance to
Well, I
chat
think we
with
need
him.
to make a trip to Florida because I believe that's where the
I,
museum is.
I would love
That'd
to
be fun.
go. I
That
want to
would
go
be
there.
fun. Now,
Yeah.
I know your parents have been very, very influential in your life. Let's talk about them a little bit and how they've supported you.
Yeah, my mom's my definite biggest inspiration. My mom, I don't get to hang out with my mom as much as I'd like to because she's up in Canada. And when I moved to the U.S., so, like during COVID and whatnot, I didn't get to see her for almost, I think it was 3 years, which was
Wow.
really hard. Because then not only the COVID thing, and I had once I got my green card, I was able to travel, but it took a while with COVID. Everything was all messed up. And so my mom is definitely my biggest inspiration. She's almost like a Martha Stewart, but like better. She can fix anything. She's so artsy fartsy, but at the same time, she's so fun and bubbly and funny and nice to everybody. And I really try to be like my mom. I'm
I can
very.
see that. I mean, you're describing yourself, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I
I
love the
try to be like her.
personality. That's Go ahead. Yeah.
No, thank you. That means that's good. That means I'm doing all right because I really, she's just so much fun. Yeah, we laugh till we cry all the time, which is really, we literally always have tears pouring. I love making my mom laugh. That's like, I'm a big goofball, but that's definitely my favorite thing is making like my friends and my family laugh, being an oddball. And of course, my dad's my best friend. I do everything with my dad. We work together, so we do the SCTA rule books and covers and stuff like that. My dad will do like the graphic design, and I'll sometimes do the photos and highlight other amazing photographers that we know as well. But he does the graphic design, and we do photo packages for different teams. Like we're putting together several books for different teams when they want to have a photo book about after doing a photo shoot at Bonneville. We're writing a book on Bobby Isaac, which has been in the works for a little while. We're doing a book with the Rolling Bones, doing one with Aaron Brown. We're doing one with, I think, maybe Mr. Pilgrim. I don't know. There's a lot of them. I did do a book on the restoration of the Pure Health Funny car. So I'm trying really hard to put these amazing experiences I've had, taking all the video clips I've just taken and making a YouTube channel. Not necessarily, I'm not going to make money off YouTube, but just to kind of keep track of all this amazing experiences. And I really would love to do books, photo books to document and share these places and people and builders and the stuff people have created. They're incredible. Like the stuff that you can build in a small shop, it's mind-boggling. It's all humans are amazing. We really are.
So what advice do you have for people, especially, I'll say younger kids or the younger generation who want to get involved in motorsports in some capacity? What would you recommend them doing in order to do that?
I think the biggest thing is show up, really. Definitely show up, because I waited, don't want to say waited, but I was patiently hoping for almost 20 years. And after a certain point, people are like, well, that's just folly. You should give up on a hope or a dream. But if you really want to do something, you show up and you be a part of it in whatever capacity you can be. If you want to work in a shop and there's no job, pick up the broom and show that you're dedicated in your time. Because people vote with their money or they vote with their time. Voting, showing that you're willing to give time into something is what makes people notice that you're dedicated to it. And so if you're a young person, you want to be a part of something, show up and be helpful and be humble, of course. Like, don't say, well, why would I show up to a place and when I was a kid, I worked for a photography studio for a little while as an apprentice. I wasn't being paid, but I still did the job, and I never expected to be paid, and eventually they bought me a camera. So there's either apprenticeships or things you have to do that you're not gonna necessarily feel like you're where you want to be, but it's to lay the foundation. Your work and your time is always worth money, and your effort's always worth money when you're doing a job. But when you are trying to learn something from someone, the least you can do is clean their floor, or they're giving you their time. You need to reciprocate. So show up, be humble, I guess, or at least enthusiastic, and open your ears and listen, because every day is a school day and everything's a lesson. And
Awesome. Well, what can we expect from you in 2025?
Woo! So much. I think it's going to be pretty exciting. My calendar is looking really awesome. Definitely going to be starting off the year with some Landspeed racing. We're going to be going back to Arkansas, and we are probably going up to Loring, Maine, which I've never been up there. So I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been up there. It's further north than where I grew up in Canada, so it's up there. We're going to do that probably, and then going to go back to Bonneville. There's also the event at IRP with Indie Legends. There's the Ragtime Racers, have a whole bunch of amazing events. So as I post, as these things come up, I'll be posting them on my Facebook and on my social media pages, so that people can come and enjoy. So yeah, starting off strong with Landspeed in the spring, and so I'm really focusing on that. There's drag racing and circle track racing, and there's probably going to be a train or two thrown in there, and maybe some hell driving, because EJ has a thrill show as well that he does. He rides through walls of fire, and I'm supposed to be in training for the next show possibly. So maybe I'll jump a car through a wall of fire or something like that. Maybe, who knows?
That would be epic. That'd be epic.
Fun. Just say yes.
Just say yes. Well, and
Yeah.
you've thrown a lot of things at us, today that people kind of didn't know about you, or even they probably didn't know you could work on steam engines and tanks and all this other stuff. Is there something else a little quirky or a little different that most people wouldn't expect to know about you that you're comfortable sharing?
Yes, actually, I remember us mentioning that. But being from where I'm from, a lot of people don't realize it, but I get to pull out my fun party trick, which is that I'm fully bilingual because I'm English. I'm not French, but I am from a French province, so je peux échanger entre français ou anglais, mais j'ai vraiment un accent québécois. Alors, bonjour tout le monde en Québec ou qui parle français. J'essaie vraiment d'avoir pas tellement un accent. But yeah, it's a neat kind of party trick where you get to bounce back and forth. But I used to be able to do the interviews in French or English, or you know, it's help people sometimes at the starting line, or if they're lost. I remember I was in New York and I was walking through, I think, Central Station. I'm literally walking through a huge crowd, and someone was right next to me, a service person. They said, does anybody here speak French? And I was standing next to them. I said, yes. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, standing right next to you. It's just a really neat thing to be able to help people and translate, or, but a lot of people up there thought I was American. And a lot of Americans don't know that I'm Canadian, but I don't, people don't necessarily fit into one peg or square or hole. When I was up there, I was like you're in a French place, but you're English, and then the rest of Canada, yeah, but you're from the French place, and then you go to the U.S., well, you're from. It's like I never wanted to fit in, because not fitting in means you fit in everywhere.
Right.
It's fun, but yeah, my fun party trick. But if
I
anybody
love it.
needs translation and they're stuck at a track, je peux vous aider.
I love it. I love it. Now, where can people follow you on social media to kind of see what you're up to?
So I have, of course, I have so many things going on. I have several social medias. So depending on what you're interested in. So I do have my Liz Leggett photography page on Facebook, where if you follow that, you're not going to get updates about my racing. You're going to get all my photography work, magazines, newspapers, different things that I've done, and different photo shoots. So I post those on my Liz Leggett photography Facebook and Instagram. Then I have my Instagram called World War II Tank Girl. So that you can find me on Facebook just under Liz Leggett. So LizLeggett. So the photography page will pop up. My personal page has all the racing, and for anything for my full racing with the Iron Dinosaur. The Iron Dinosaur does have a page as well. Iron Dinosaur Racer on Instagram, and Iron Dinosaur Racing on Facebook. So Vintage Eliminator has a page, but essentially, if you find me on Facebook, just under Liz Leggett, I'll be posting everything there. It's hard to keep everything all in one place. It really is, but I do have a website, just Liz Leggett Photography. That's the main place.
Awesome. Well, and I know that sponsors are a huge deal for anybody involved in racing, because without them and their support, it
Yeah.
just wouldn't happen. So let's go ahead and give a shout out and a little gratitude to the people that have helped make your dream a reality.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of the sponsors, all of you guys that have been following my journey, but also have been with the Iron Dinosaur before I was even a part of it, and just making that project possible. So we have UEM Icon Pistons. They were the ones who invited me to PRI. We're planning on having the Iron Dinosaur next year at PRI, so keep your eye out for that, which would be really
Yes.
cool. She's very big, and she's like 21 feet long. But if you spot me at PRI and the car's there, come and check out the car. Get a sit in the Landspeed car and just experience it, because that's really, really fun. So UEM Pistons, forever thankful for them and their support. We also have Precision Turbo. They've been really, really great. Then we have Center Force Clutch, which they're great, because when we had clutch issues, they helped fix everything up, and so we really appreciate them. Of course, I mentioned Avid Speed, but Avid Speed is probably the best tuner ever, in my opinion. As I said, he's mathemagical. Then we have, of course, Delaware Chassis Works. So Mr. Timney actually is the one I got my wrist restraints from. It's interesting trying to find the right gear and having people in the community that all know each other and all help out. So Delaware Chassis Works is one of those names that he knows a lot of people because he's helped a lot of people and whatnot. So thank you, Mr. Timney, like Delaware Chassis Works. Of course, we have Peace Dental. So Arnie, who did the body work on the car. So Peace Dental is one. We have NGK Spark Plugs. Precision Turbo, I mentioned. We did have Haggerty be a part of it. I'm not sure if they're still going to be on for 2025, but Haggerty was also the ones who did some of the sponsorship for the Ragtime Racers. So I personally am very thankful to Haggerty because every time I am involved in some form of racing, it seems that their name is associated with it in any way, shape, or form. I appreciate that. Whatever they're doing, whatever capacity they are, Haggerty seems to be there. So thank you, Haggerty, for supporting racing in general. We all really appreciate it, all of us. Thermotech, which does my cool suit, which I would die without. Honestly, that thing is. You can almost like freeze on the starting line if you have a cool shirt. So it's very, very essential. So I thank them for that. And I believe I mentioned the Diesel Doctor. Well, the Diesel Doctor, we are very thankful for because Diesel Doctor and UEM are the ones that have sponsored the film. So the film is coming out next week. It's by Allison Swank, and I'm very excited. It's a short film, but it very much captures perfectly the first rookie run at the Salt and what that entire moment was. And I'm forever thankful for her too, because we didn't know each other. We didn't plan it. She just took her time to follow my story, and I'm forever grateful to her and Lorenzo and everyone who's been a part of that project. There's so many people who have. I can't believe that. You take one of your like most amazing, incredible moments of your life, and you have somebody take the time to document it for you.
I can't wait to see it. That's going to be exciting. I know you had mentioned that before. So when can we expect that again?
So I was told next week, the week of the 27th. So yeah, next week. So I don't know exactly what day next week. I think they like seeing me sit on eggshells. They like putting me all excited. But yeah, next week it's going to come out. So I'll share that with you and everybody, and I'll put it on all those social media sites.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Liz, thank you so much for coming on today and spending a little bit of time with me and sharing your very interesting story.
I talk too much, honestly, I know, but I have a lot of people that mention and thank and show appreciation for. So thank you to everybody, every single person who's ever given me a hug and told me that they believe in me, or that they just everything, every person, be it from trains, the racing, to you, honestly, thank you for taking your time and coming up to me at PRI. And that was really exciting because I know who you are. You interview all these incredible people. So the fact that you even want to talk to me, as I said, I'm the journalist. I'm never the person at the booth. So that was so cool to have you even come up and ask to talk to me. It's like, Metro Alley wants to talk to me. Ha! That's pretty cool. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That means the world, and it was one of those things that, Radio great. Bob, we got to talk. We're going to do a little plug here for Radio Bob for Radio you guys, Bob. He was so just excited about you, and he's like, you've got to talk to her. You've got to talk to her. I go, well, you know what? I'm going to go talk to her. And Aaron Brown said some amazing things about you. He thinks very, very highly of you. And so, you need to realize how high up there you really are, and just the reputation that you have is you are phenomenal. You are absolutely phenomenal, and you are going to be going to some pretty extraordinary places, I think, in your racing career.
I appreciate that. As long as you come with me, I want everybody to come with me. It's not my journey; it's our journey. We're all in this together.
I love that.
If anybody wants to ever come out and check out Landspeed Racing, or check out the Vintage Eliminator, or any of these things, feel free to reach out and say, "Hey, who do I talk to about entering my pre-war car, or for ragtime racers, or how do I do front engine drag racing in New Jersey or in PA?" Feel free to reach out to me, because if I don't have the answers, which I often don't, I definitely might know someone that I can put you in line with. So anybody who has any interest in racing at all, reach out. People are willing to share, and I love it. Thank you again for your time.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Remember to go out and support your local racetrack, your local drag strip. Bring a friend. Let's help grow this sport and sustain the sport together. And I'll always say it, God bless you. God bless America, our first responders and our military. And I'll see you next time on the top end. Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you.